I would have preferred a statement asking for progressive taxation and an earmarking on some of those profits, especially say on the super rich, which could have garnered revenue for the government school system instead of relying on philanthropy and the charity of the rich to support our public education system. I guess India's children deserve better. There are two separate chapters on equity, and therefore there is a certain element of focus on the issue, but unfortunately, where it one of the problems is precisely that it is in those two chapters, and one would have wished for equity to have been more cross-cutting. What it does contain in that sense is, on one level, a commitment to universal secondary, early childhood and secondary education, obviously without a legal framing for it as of now, but at least that sense of everyone should complete the full schooling cycle is at least for the first time something that one hears. One hears a commitment. There is a somewhat traditional focus on social inclusion. Don't really see anything new in that sense, but there is a mention of the gender inclusion fund. Of course, it does. One doesn't say how. Doesn't the document doesn't say how big is it? Whether it's new resources, how would it be spent? There is a commitment to areas with large numbers of marginalized populations. Where it has been positive is some of the greater emphasis on persons with disabilities, with the focus on, say, special educators as part of the teachers chapter, and in terms of a greater commitment to the minimum provisions as per the new PWD Act, Persons with Disabilities Act, which has a much more expansive definition of inclusive education. Also reconsidering, proposition of reconsidering some of the potential exclusionary measures like home-based education for children with disabilities. One is the fact that it's all in one section versus mainstreaming it. In this sense of, if you are seriously committing to ensuring equity, then you need to engage with those issues in the development of the curriculum. You need to engage with these issues in assessment processes, in how teachers are prepared. The second part of it is this whole thing of spatial education, the SEDGs, social economically disadvantaged groups, are ultimately apples and oranges that have been merged into one category. But fundamentally, the needs and the problems and the solutions for each one of them are different. In terms of the third category, why people criticize it, doesn't engage with the question of educational inequality. The word inequality doesn't appear even once. The elephant in the room as far as Indian education is class. So therefore, how would the gap in quality between the rich and the poor be closed? It has not, the policy fails to engage with it completely. The interstate differences, when would the educational indicators of Bihar catch up with Kerala? I mean, logically, we're one country, so we should aspire to have the same high standards for everyone. The policy doesn't quite engage with issues of caste-based discrimination. Untouchability doesn't get mentioned. Yes, there's lots of talk about multilingualism, which would have, it does mention the fact that tribal languages are dying in India. But when it comes to the language section, one gets a sense of the discussion around multilingualism is about the state language, which isn't the language spoken by tribals in that state. So again, sounds promising, could potentially be leveraged, By now, more than half of India's children attend private schools, and therefore it is time that we started looking more closely at this black box that's a private school. Unlike the government school system, where there are mechanisms of oversight, be it through parents in the form of school management committees or the role of the state to regulate them, this similar level of oversight is currently not available with private schools. For private schools are exclusionary for girls. They clearly exclude persons with disabilities and anyone else who might quote unquote lower their result in the long run. And therefore it's high time the same intensity of regulation fell upon them as providers, which entails regulation of addressing exclusion and ensuring addressing profiteering by private schools. And therefore the NEP's simultaneous recommendations, hey, let's have light regulation, hey, let some of the earlier drafts spoke about the RT norms themselves being unduly restrictive. Therefore, if a private school is reluctant to even adhere to minimum national standards of or roof over kids' heads, a trained teacher, of water facilities in the school, then surely they are failing in some of their core responsibility in terms of child welfare. Secondly, in terms of given the past record of exclusion, it would be essential that this new light but tight regulation explicitly addresses exclusion and discrimination by private schools. And it would be essential to ensure, therefore, profit making, hiding of profits that have been prevalent in the past are in some way addressed, because now, especially now that they are the majority of providers. So undeniable evidence globally at this point in time is exclusion. Even the most digitally connected countries like, say, Denmark, now that one is facing the pandemic, the evidence of teachers is the responses from teachers even in digitally connected rich countries like and Nordic countries, which are supposed to be these nice equitable education systems. Their track record is there are kids who cannot cope. There are children who don't have supports at home to follow up with digital instruction. Not everyone is able to get online. There are children with disabilities, say development delays, or people who speak, who are immigrants who don't speak the majority language, in our case, also migrants possibly from other states, who plain and simple don't understand what the teacher is saying very well. We do have real issues of internet access. The reality is less than 10% households in rural India have access. We've all seen instances of we've read the instances of the first suicides taking place of bright kids who can't get online, who feel that it's no longer worth living if they can't access education, which is the truth, the path to a better future. So therefore, it's obviously not going, it has not been equitable anywhere. Therefore, don't see why India would be any different. Because obviously, sure, it does overcome distances, but it's only as long as you can get online. Ultimately, for the policy to be implemented, it needs a legal framework. And that legal framework for school education as of now is the RTE Act. Some of those who have drafted it have said the legal framework will follow. There are multiple legislations that would need to be amended. It's not just RTE. Some of the tertiary sector related frameworks would require a new legislative agenda. So that's the stated reason in that sense. But fundamentally, for early childhood education to secondary to be universalized with a set of minimum standards, there needs to be legal framework. As of now, it's RTE, and therefore omission of RTE is unfortunate because unless implementation is mandatory, it will not happen. So therefore, it would be, even if they've chosen not to mention the legislation and the policy, the legislative agenda is imperative because it's the law that gives teeth to policies. It would have been nice. It would be nice if the policy, or if the legislation also commits us mandatory to the budget allocation that's required. Where do I start? As far as the existing national legal framework, education is a not-for-profit domain. So therefore, as of now, all schools by definition are not-for-profit schools. Therefore, are by definition already philanthropic schools. So therefore, I have never quite understood what they meant by let's promote philanthropic-minded private schools. The counterfactual to philanthropic investment is not no investment. The counterfactual to philanthropic investment is proper taxation, which could bring resources into the government's coffers, which can then be allotted more equitably.